Masonry's history with America is filled with both mystery and controversy. Because of its secrecy and because its members are bound by terrible blood oaths, Masons are reluctant to come forward with testimony.
It's a secret society. It has always been a secret society. And to reveal anything about these secret societies ensures your death. And people who've tried to expose Masonry, even to this very day, risk their lives in doing it.
Yet from the shadows, some light appears.
When you actually go into Masonry in the first 3 degrees, why, you promise that if you are ever reveal any of the secrets of Masonry in the first degree, why you'll have your tongue cut out, and you'll have you'll be buried in the sands of the sea up to the level of your neck at the level of low tide. And at the 2nd degree, I believe they cut out your heart, and the 3rd degree, they're going to cut out your entrails and burn them.
In the 19th century, a man named Captain William Morgan was murdered by a group of Masons who were bound by such blood oaths.
Well, Captain William Morgan was a guy up in Batavia, New York in 1826. He was the first American to publish the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry, of the Blue Lodge. The things you had to say, the oaths you had to take. And Masons didn't like that very much.
Captain Morgan had violated his oath by writing a book to let people know about the terrible oaths of this terrible society.
Feeling a responsibility to the Masonic Brotherhood, 3 members of the order kidnapped Morgan to make him pay for exposing the secrets of Masonry.
Hey, get this! What is this? It's ridiculous! Stop!
He was captured by a group of Masons and taken and killed.
And later on, the perpetrators made deathbed confessions of it all, so it was all very well known.
Of these deathbed confessions, at least one has survived, given by a man named Henry L. Valance, whose insight into Morgan's final moments provides a heart-wrenching account. While Valance was never brought to justice for the crime, his final confession revealed a conscience haunted by a lifetime of guilt.
If the mark of Cain wasn't upon me, the curse of the first murderer was. The blood stain was upon my hands and could not be washed out.
Valance revealed how a council of 8 Masons had condemned William Morgan to death.
Council. They made a decision and decided your fate. Are you ready to pay for your betrayal? Talk to me, man.
I've done what was right.
And how Morgan had pleaded for his life on behalf of his wife and children.
He commenced wringing his hands and talking of his wife and children, the recollections of whom in that awful hour terribly affected him.
Please, my children, my wife.
His wife, he had said, was young and inexperienced, and his children were but infants.
You should have thought about that before you turned us in, before you wrote the book. May God have mercy on your children, because we will not have mercy on you.
Despite Morgan's plea for mercy, Valance and his fellow Masons were determined to carry out their grim task. They gave Morgan time alone to prepare himself to die. How Morgan passed that time, said Valance, he could not tell, for everything was quiet as a tomb within. When they returned, they bound his hands and led him away to the awful fate they had prepared for him.
The story was he was actually drowned after being mistreated horribly for a period of time. Well, when the word of this got out, and people began to realize this dangerous influence of Masonry within our society, why the membership of the organization fell off dramatically.
As one investigator put it, as one writer put it, Freemasonry, which was rampant throughout the country at that time, almost dried up overnight.
The public outrage over Morgan's death was profound, but when those who had murdered him were sought out, the people of the United States discovered that justice was not so easy to obtain. The reason was given by the Reverend Charles Finney in his book, The Character, Claims, and Practical Workings of Freemasonry, first published in 1869. Finney was a former Mason who lived through the Morgan affair. He claimed that justice in the case was impossible because nearly all the civil offices in the country were in the hands of Freemasons. According to Finney, even the newspapers of the day were completely under their control. Finney writes that it was found that they could do nothing with the courts, with the sheriffs, with the eyewitnesses, or with the jurors, and all their efforts were for a time entirely impotent.
So this turned into a big brouhaha. It was a big Masonic scandal because it was all known.
The Morgan incident became an issue of national importance, not simply because a man was murdered, but more importantly, Americans began to realize that their supposedly democratic country was being secretly controlled by the Masonic Brotherhood.
And this led even to separate political parties, anti-Masonic political parties being formed, and they were even called the Anti-Masonic Party. They ran candidates for president, and they were significant parties. They weren't just minority parties, so it was a really big deal.
The Anti-Masonic Party was the first third party in American politics, and eventually became the Whig Party, which is more widely recognized. The party itself was led by former President John Quincy Adams, who wrote a collection of letters and essays against Freemasonry.
How can you have a free society when you have people who belong to these secret societies and have sworn these terrible blood oaths? You can't have a free society. And that's what John Quincy Adams was writing about.
Adams wrote, "I do conscientiously and sincerely believe that the order of Freemasonry, if not the greatest, is one of the greatest moral and political evils." As a result of the Morgan incident, a series of official investigations took place. In 1829, a New York State Senate committee published its findings on Masonry, stating that its members were found in almost every place where power is of any importance. 5 years later, in 1834, a joint committee in Massachusetts reported that Masonry was, quote, "a distinct independent government within our own government and beyond the control of the laws of the land by means of its secrecy."
Well, the influence of Masonry has always been here since those days. And, of course, within 15 or 20 years, the membership of Masonry had reconstituted itself. It said they got down to only about 5,000 members there when Masonry was really exposed. But people soon forgot about the terrible things that had happened. And the fact that if you were a Mason, they really would kill you. Most people look upon Masonry as simply a fraternity, and these oaths have no meaning. But tragically, they do.
A monument was erected in Batavia, New York, and remains to this day, in remembrance of what happened to William Morgan. The inscription on its base reads, "To the memory of William Morgan, a native of Virginia, a captain in the War of 1812, a respectable citizen of Batavia, and a martyr to the freedom of writing, printing, and speaking the truth. He was abducted from near this spot in the year 1826 by Freemasons and murdered for revealing the secrets of their order." The monument goes on to tell the reader where they can find the historical records that document the Morgan account. Why would the citizens of Batavia have gone to this length? Crimes are committed every day, and people sometimes murdered. Why draw attention to William Morgan? Did they desire to warn future generations? Was it because the people of that time recognized, as Charles Finney asserts in his book, that America was being controlled by Masons from behind the scenes? But for what cause? For greed, power? Or is the answer most likely found in the great Atlantic?
Hi, this is Dave Bartosowitz with Have You Experienced Jesus? You know, I've been wanting to do this show for some time, and I hope that you'll be able to use it and send it out to many people, because it's going to be a very important show. And the show today we're going to discuss is there a relationship between Mormonism and Freemasonry? You know, I'm down here in Salt Lake City, and I've been here many, many times, talking to many LDS people, Mormon people. Many of them claim they are Christian. And it's a hard thing to describe when you're trying to teach LDS people more about Christianity. What you find in Christianity, the symbol of Christianity is what? We see it all over Christian churches. You have the cross, right? This is the cross. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you that the cross is not here in Salt Lake City with the LDS Church. They don't really put the cross up. They don't like to wear crosses. They don't even like to actually, I think they fear the cross. You know, there's many scriptures that talk about those who don't believe in the cross or those who are perishing. But the power of God is really from the cross, that we get an understanding of what Christ did on that cross. You could go anywhere in the world in Christian churches, and then what you'll be able to see is the cross. Many different non-denominational Christian churches, to Baptists, to Catholic even, to a variety of different, you know, Presbyterian, Lutheran. The cross is always represented. Now, the cross represents that Jesus won. He was victorious on the cross. He defeated Satan. So that's very, very important for all believers to remember that the cross is a symbol of Jesus being victorious. And that's why we praise him. That's why we lift our hands and worship him, because we love him so much, because he's the one that made us alive, right? And then we're not dead. And he gave us immortality because of what happened on the cross. And so now we worship and praise him because of that. Now, you don't see that here. You don't see that in Salt Lake City. As a matter of fact, well, you see it in Christian churches, but not in the Mormon compound, if you will. All the Mormon churches, they have spires. And it's a spire that actually is a symbol that shows eternal progression. They believe they could become a god. And they focus in on that a lot. Now, we know, if anybody knows the Bible, and I'm sure many do, that there is one who wanted to be exalted, and that one who wanted to be exalted was thrown down to the earth. That was called Satan. He wanted to be exalted, become a god. We heard yesterday from one of the LDS apostles. Yesterday, he actually came out and said that our goal is to be exalted. That's our goal. Now, for Christians, they go, what? That doesn't feel right, doesn't make sense whatsoever. But I want to share a couple things with you here, because I'm in front of the historical museum, LDS Mormon Museum. And what you're going to see are symbols. Now, symbols are the mysteries of what people believe. Now, there's a lot of LDS people who don't know about these symbols that are on their temple, that are on their buildings, that are on their historical museum. And I'm going to show you a lot of these so that you'll get to understand, if you're investigating the LDS Church, you've got to make a decision for yourself who these people, what they believe and who they really are. Many of them don't know these symbols and the meaning behind it. But I want to share from you what kind of impact Joseph Smith had with Freemasonry, and why he used a lot of these symbols in the temple ordinances, on the temple, throughout the city of Salt Lake City. Brigham Young used them, and we'll be showing you them. So I want you to get an idea of what's going to be taking place. But again, no crosses. There's no fish. You don't see any fishes at all. In Christian churches, you'll see it all over the world. They've been having that for thousands of years, showing that. But in Mormonism, they do not like the cross. So anyway, let's start looking right now. And we can look up here. I want to show you a symbol. If you look in the top left, you'll see an inverted pyramid. Do you see that? It's an inverted pyramid, and there's two of them right there. Now that star is a downward 5-point pentagram that actually, it's kind of scary because Satanists use this. As a matter of fact, you'll be seeing right now on the video, you'll be seeing that the Satanic Bible uses this symbol as a symbol for Satanists. Now that's kind of scary. I don't know if you really, for me, when I first saw that and I knew that, that bothered me quite a bit, because I'm thinking to myself, why would a church put a symbol like that on, letting everybody see this? But you know, I've asked quite a few Mormons, and I said, do you know what that symbol means? And they don't know what it means. So it's really kind of, it's worrisome for us who are believers in Jesus, who are Christians, who hold fast to the cross, and then we see a symbol that Satanists use and occult groups use. You got to ask your question, why are they using this? Now, I just want to let you know, this building was actually erected in 1984. Now, the Satanist movement, who actually believe in these symbols, actually had this symbol of Satan a long time before this building was erected. And I'm sure they knew what that symbol represented. Scares us a lot. Now, on top of this, you'll also see a sunstone, and you can see a sun, an image. That's one of the highest actual symbols up there showing that. And you're seeing the sun, and it's like, I don't know if you know this or not, but God, He was very clear in the Bible that sun worshiping is not a form of who God is. As a matter of fact, Baal, the sun god Baal, was a former pagan god, and you're seeing this sun that they really like to show as a symbol. Well, that's worrisome. Is that Christian? No, it's not Christian whatsoever. That's not a symbol of Christianity. Let's look up to the far right, and you're going to see some interesting things here. You're seeing another sun, and that's like another pagan symbol that you see, as well as you see hands. Do you see those hands right there? Now, that's a hand grip. Now, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the Freemason has many, many different symbols. The hand grip, if you're looking at that right now, is a symbol of two hands. Shaking is representative of the grip or token of a Freemason. That's a Freemason symbol. There are many Freemason symbols. I would like to share some of them with you. The sun is a Freemason symbol. The eye, the all-seeing eye, if you look up there, you're going to see the all-seeing eye up there. If you get a good idea of what that symbol represents, it's an all-seeing eye. Now, Freemasonry actually have that in their temple as well. The sun and the moon and the stars, we'll be showing you the sun and the moon and the stars in the Salt Lake City Temple. These are images and symbols of paganism, of Wicca, of the occult. It doesn't make sense why Mormonism would have this. But you know, there's mysteries behind these symbols. So it's really important for you to understand what they mean. They also have the lamb and lambskin apron. Actual Freemasonry is all about that. They have aprons. I couldn't believe that, but I was reading in a Freemason.com, it was talking about what happens that everybody who is a Freemason, who is pretty high up, has these aprons, and when some Freemason passes away, right before they're going into the grave, they all wear these aprons, and they provide this apron to be put in the grave. Now, what that means for them is that, you know, they have all lodges and they believe in all degrees, very similar to Mormonism, that the apron represents the possibility of that person who died could actually rise to the highest celestial lodge to meet the grand architect. So, does that sound familiar with Mormonism? Yeah, they wear the green apron. They do, but that's a covering of their sin. that they believe they still have, which is really strange for Christians. We don't believe that. We have a covering of sin if we accept the blood of Jesus Christ. So that's a very odd thing. But there's going to be many other things that you're going to see. They also have a symbol of the slipper. Now the slipper is worn in the LDS temple when you're walking in the temple. They also have beehives. Now you're seeing here, you're seeing a number of beehives that I'm going to be showing you. The LDS church has this. You come down here, it's on Brigham Young home. It's the beehive is at the Capitol. You get to see the beehive right now when you're looking at the Capitol right now, and it declares industry. It also is a symbol of hard work and teamwork. And to the Mason, the beehive is especially fascinating because of the honeycomb is a perfect geometric structure. So that's a Freemason symbol. Now again, why are all these Freemason symbols here? Well, you got to realize that, again, if you're not familiar with this, that Joseph Smith, when Joseph Smith, his brother was a Freemason, and Joseph Smith's brother was Freemason, Hyrum, as well as Sidney Rigdon, and many people were Freemasons, as a matter of fact, during the period of time in Nauvoo. So what you're finding is that Joseph Smith wanted to become a Freemason. He became a Freemason. It took him only a weekend to get all the information and all the insights, all the rituals, all the tokens that he needed. And a month and a half later, after that was given to him, it should take 3 years to become a 33-degree Mason, but a month and a half after that, he actually brought forth all the rituals, all the endowment rituals and tokens to the Temple of Nauvoo. And Freemasons were really upset. Freemasons were extremely upset because they felt that he copied everything from the Masonic Temple rituals. And so that's one of the reasons why he got killed too, as well. And as well as because of polygamy. But what you're finding is you're seeing relationships between these things. It's important for you as an investigator to know that Mormonism declares that they are Christian, but then you see an incredible amount of what? Masonry all over the place, because of the fact that Joseph Smith copied all those symbols. Now, do those symbols have any truth to Christianity? No way. No way. There's no relationship. We don't see it anywhere with the actual early Christian church, but they have it here. And it's scary because I think it's a secret society. If you look at Freemasonry, it's more of a secret society than it is a Christian church. And Mormonism puts all these symbols all over the city of the city of Salt Lake, showcasing these different symbols. So you got to ask yourself, is it Christian or is it of something else? Those are important. Critically thinking, you got to think about those things. But let's go on right now. We're gonna show you some more of these symbols, such as eagles. You'll see the inverted star, a pentagram more, and you're going to see a lot of other things. We're going to show you the sun, the moon, the stars, the all-seeing eye, the handshakes, and so forth. So keep watching, and we'll show you that. Thanks for watching. All right, right now you're seeing in the Salt Lake Temple, you're seeing the all-seeing eye. That is a Freemason symbol. Right next to that is the sun, and you're seeing the sun right now. As you see the sun, that's a symbol of Freemasonry. It goes down. Now you're seeing the moon, and also you're probably seeing the handshake here again. That is a Freemason masonry
what
symbol.
You're seeing right now is a Saturn. Those are Saturn stones, and that's very pagan and Wiccan. If you're coming down, you're seeing in the Salt Lake Temple here, you're seeing the sun with stars. And then further on down, you're seeing moons, and you're going to be seeing stages of moons. So when the cameraman's moving to the right, you'll see all these different stages. It goes into crescent, to full moon, and so forth. And if you go a little further down from that, you're going to find that the inverted star, the 5-star pentagram, is all over. So that's all over this temple. Now again, those are symbols of Mormonism, but it's also symbols of Freemasonry, symbols of Satanism, symbols of the Wicca movement, and the occult.
So again, does this have anything to do with Jesus? All right, what you're watching right now is the top of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, and you are seeing the beehive and an eagle, again, both Freemason symbols. Right in front of me, I'm at actually Brigham Young's Beehive House. Now, again, the word beehive is a Freemason symbol. And so you can see on the very top of the home that he has represents a beehive. Again, the concept of Freemasonry symbols. All right, what you're seeing is the church office building. This is the administration building. This is where many of the apostles and prophet, they've done a lot of their business work right here. And you can see the pillars. Pillars is a representation, it's a symbol of Freemasonry. You see it all the time. I'll show you some stuff if you're watching right now with how pillars represent Freemasonry. So anyway, you're seeing that at this point. Thanks. All right, in front of me, you are going to see basically the arch coming into Salt Lake City. It's the gateway, and on top of it is a symbol, as you can see right now, of an eagle, and he's standing on top of a beehive. And then right below that, you can see the inverted pentagram that, again, is a Satanist symbol of the occult. Kind of strange to be here, but this is in Salt Lake City all over. So again, is this a Christian area? Is this with symbols, or is this more Freemasonry? I think you're getting it's all Freemasonry. Right, something that we wanted to show you, it was a little harder to find, but this is actually in the Relief Society building. And you can see right here, they have the symbol of wheat all over next to the windows. And you're seeing that, and that's a Freemason symbol. Again, it's about harvesting. It's about working hard and what you get after the harvest. It's a symbol that shows all that. But the Freemasons use that, and they created that. Mormonism copied it and used it. So you're getting a sense that throughout all the different symbols that I've shown you, it really is more connected to Freemasonry. Now, one thing I want to talk to you about, one of the biggest things that many of the members use if they are worthy and if they are going to the temple, they have special underwear that they wear. They're called garments. And in the garments, it's a compass and square. Actually, that's what it's known as. Many of Mormons who are worthy wear these, and instead of having like a symbol of the cross, they have the compass and the square. This is directly related to Freemasonry. We have no idea why they would actually use these symbols, but you can see what I'm showing you right now. You're seeing compass and squares that are actually used by Freemasons. Joseph Smith, again, was a Freemason. Brigham Young was a Freemason. They used a lot of these symbols in Mormonism. Is this Christianity? Is this a form of Christianity? Well, you know, they have Jesus, they talk about Jesus, but many of the rituals, many of the tokens they use, many of the things, the symbols that they have is really Freemasonry.
Thank you guys very much. I think this is the fourth year I've been here, and it's been inspirational and thought-provoking to me every time. A lot of you have provided me a lot to think about, and so I appreciate that. So recently, I read Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1, which is purportedly a book about business, about how to create a startup. But in it, he takes the opportunity to kind of explore and lay out how he views the world. And one of the things that he describes is two different kinds of progress. So the first kind of progress he describes, he calls horizontal progress. And it's the idea that every year we get more McDonald's, we get more Pizza Huts, we get more big screen TVs, we get more people wearing Levi's and drinking Coca-Cola and watching Hollywood movies. And this is kind of the dream of globalization. And it's essentially just the idea that we take what we're doing here, what we think works here, and we spread it out to more and more people. We take what's working in the first world and we spread it to the third world, to the developing world. And the huge assumption that is in that shows up in the language we use We talk about the developing world and the developed world. The assumption is that we have arrived at some sort of end of history, some sort of culmination or pinnacle of human experience, and all we have left to do is wait for the rest of humanity to catch up. So this is how progress is kind of conventionally conceived, and the problem with this is that it's completely unsustainable. If all we do over the next century is take the American lifestyle and export it to the rest of the world, we'll need 4 Earths to supply the resources needed for that level of consumption. So it's not surprising, maybe, if we think about that and we think about heading into that sort of a future. We can easily imagine that leading to economic and ecological and social crises of violence and war that could easily lead to the sort of end of history that is dramatically more literal than the one the first world nations believe they've already accomplished. And I think it's that sense that this is what we mean by progress that has caused many people to feel as if progress is this great myth, this profound delusion that's leading our civilization into self-destruction. Because if that's what we're talking about when we talk about progress, it's not hard to think that they might be right. So Peter Thiel, in looking at the challenges facing us over the next century, says it would take a miracle for us to survive. Maybe even hundreds or thousands of miracles. But he goes on to say, fortunately, human beings are the one species that has proven itself capable of creating miracles. And what he means by that, of course, is technology, the creation of something genuinely new, the creation of new systems, new processes, new options and new possibilities and new alternative futures, the opportunity to genuinely transform the way we live and the way our societies function. He calls this vertical progress, and it's based around a leap from 0 to 1, from nothingness to somethingness, from the old to the new, and it's built on that creative leap, that creative insight. And the problem is that that kind of magic that bubbles up within the human spirit is something we don't understand. We don't know how to completely capture. David Deutsch, in his book, The Beginning of Infinity, talks about this problem in the context of artificial intelligence. He talks about how artificial intelligence, we have no problem creating intelligence. We have no problem creating systems that figure out things. What we have a problem with is creating a general intelligence, a general system that can solve problems creatively, that can address its own sorts of new solutions. And he sees the problem of artificial intelligence as not being a technical one, but as a philosophical one. We simply don't understand how this works. We don't know how to bottle it and package it and pull it out on demand. So if this is what we need to move forward and survive the next century, then we might be facing some serious trouble. We need more creativity, and we don't know exactly how to get it. But I think the solution to me is that while we cannot bottle that act of creation, what we can do is encourage it.
Do you want to live forever? Do you want to get away from illness, hurt, anything that doesn't work the way it's supposed to? We have achieved that here. This is called the cortical stack. This cortical stack stores your memories, everything that makes you you, mannerisms, emotions you ever felt, people you know, anything, even your consciousness is stored on this device. We did not create this device, but we do use it to help our sleeves move. Sleeves are basically human bodies we grow in our labs. They're organically real. Bones, tissue, organs, everything. These are the best bodies you'll ever have, period. Nothing can hurt these bodies, but they are human. So if something were to happen to them, you can always change them out for a new one. That's why it says immortality becomes non-existent. Because you can be 50 in one body and change to the next body. You're as young as you feel. If you come this way, David's going to show you some 2018 models that you can choose from.
Well, you can choose which sleeve you desire. Now you can either have the sleeve that you have right now, or we have a selection of wonderful sleeves that we have made through Psychosec, fully genuine and organic produced. Now if you'd like to be taller, shorter, skinnier, if you'd like to have better vision, maybe strengthen your body, you have the choice to choose a man or a woman's sleeve. Now if your sleeve becomes damaged or too old for your liking, simply remove from the cortical stack your DHF, your consciousness, to another, newer sleeve. Any questions?
Am I in a Banksy exhibit?
Excuse me?
Is this a Banksy exhibit?
This is not, this is Psychosec. We have the technology for you to achieve immortality. Now this is the final stage. Come right this way. Psychosec. Now this is the final stage of the re-sleeving process. This is Joel. Now remember guys, Joel is made up of exactly what we're made of. Skin, bone, muscle, tissue, everything is in Joel. He still needs to have his nutrients. He still needs to breathe, okay? Just like we do on a day-to-day basis. But Joel is in an unconscious state. So his cortical stack is waiting for someone's mind to be needle casted into his cortical stack. So basically he's being prepped for one of your minds to be in his body. So come closer, get closer.